growth by traveling to different countries? What? Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Dupree, scouring the globe to bring you stories of courage, passion, and resilience. If I could sum up this podcast into one word, I would use empathy. Now let's get inspired. Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I am your host once again, Brett Dupree, here to drop some knowledge on you. Today I have a very fun interview with Rachel Smets, who talks about the joy of travels and everything she learned because of it and how she now coaches people. But before that, it's time of my podcast where I talk about myself, because if I can't be vulnerable with what's happening in my life, how can I expect my guests to be vulnerable as well? Happy New Year! Today is 2020. I kind of took a December off. I think I only released one of my podcasts in December, maybe two. I think one was on the 2nd. Yeah, one was on the 2nd. It's kind of weird because Buzzsprout, the thing I host my podcast on now, does their monthly turnover, I believe, is on the 3rd. And so that confused me for a second because I only released one podcast during that time. But now it's time to go forward and be super happy. So it's 2020, so I like to think of doing a 2019 in review. I kind of think of my 2019 as a healing year. It's a year where I recognized a lot about my anxieties and how I stopped myself a lot of the times. How I recognized two aspects, two traumas in my life that I never allowed myself to truly grasp and to even remotely heal from. We'll start with the one that's obvious in 2013. Dates are hard right now, but I think it was 2013 or 2012. I think it was 2012. My uncle died. And it was 2012 my uncle died, and that was really hard for me. He was the closest family member other than like my sister growing up, but still. I was close. In fact, we're going to play Shadowrun RPG the Monday of the weekend he died, and we're going to hang out more, and he was really on up. He was going back to his job at Microsoft, and he was really looking forward to life, and he made so many amazing changes, and his trajectory was awesome, and then he died, and that was really hard for me, especially since I was unemployed at that time. And that made looking for jobs very difficult, but also I didn't have to take any time off, so that was a benefit. But looking back, I never fully healed. I allowed myself to first kind of look for a job, and then once I found a job, then I just didn't pay attention, and then worked on releasing my book. Then at the time I got a girlfriend, so I just thought about my girlfriend, and I just kind of used spirituality as a way to I never actually processed and healed it. I never even tried. And all this time, I thought it was the extreme vulnerability of having a relationship and losing it, releasing my book, and then all of a sudden having my book release party and being vice president of education for the Kirk Eclectics, as well as president, and really stepping out of my comfort zone. And when those are happening, contracting. And that's how I went from like 320 to 400 pounds in a quick amount of time of just eating my feelings. But now when I think about it, what I actually did was not deal with my uncle's death at all. I'm trying to kind of run away from that feeling. He was one of the few people who I felt understood me and really tried to understand me. And I find that those people are rare. Most people think about themselves and they don't truly try to understand you and where you're coming from. They try to come at you from a place of how does this serve them. And my uncle put a huge effort, and I felt truly cared and truly tried to see me. And that's rare. That is rare in this world. I mean, just saying, most people don't. I know I don't for a lot of people. I try with the people close to me. I try with my girlfriend. I think I do my best. But sometimes it's hard, because especially when my emotions get in my way, I go into myself. And I mean, this is natural. I'm not saying he was perfect, but he was one of the few people in my life that tried, and losing that was difficult. And the other trauma was being laid off and then fired twice. Being laid off in 2017, I believe that was that end of 2016? Yeah, it was the end of 2016 when I was laid off from Corbis. And the shock of that, I was finally stepping into my own and wanting to take a leadership role for the first time in my life. And then having that ripped away, I didn't recognize how much that hurt me as well. And that just had my anxieties, and it was really hard for me to find a job that got me that opportunity. And it was hard to get excited. And so it got to the point where I was one step away from homelessness. I did not have enough money. I got a new job. I didn't have enough money to get to my new job. I had to borrow money. And just going through all that pain and suffering, and then after even going through that, then dealing with being fired and going through bankruptcy again, finally getting that job at Microsoft kind of saved me. And then this job currently at Providence has helped me feel stable for the first time. But that first 6 months at Providence, I always felt like I was going to get fired. I always felt there was things the rug was going to throw out from under me. Certain things would happen that were just dumb. My boss friended me on LinkedIn, and I freaked out. I legitimately freaked out because every other time my boss would friend me on LinkedIn, it was because I was about to get fired and they still wanted to be in touch with me. And my two previous people just at my job friended me right when I got fired. And it was just in my brain, and just I legitimately freaked out. And last year, having more stability than I ever had in a long time at a job. I mean, I was a contractor for most of my life, so stability is just something I'm not used to. And allowing myself to feel stable and recognizing the fact that I am not handling that stress well. And 2019 was the recognition of that. And this podcast was part of my healing. There is one group of people that I let go of, mostly because once she said, I don't care about your podcast because, well, this person wasn't listening to me. This person wasn't trying to understand me. This person didn't recognize what is important about this podcast. This podcast is my healing, is what it became. This podcast came as a way for me to serve humanity, serve myself, get my message out there, but also work on those anxieties and notice when they're showing up and really focus on that. So 2019 was a time of anxiety for me, and working on recognizing that anxiety, putting a spotlight on that anxiety. And the number one anxiety that came out was like happened on my 41st birthday, that recognition that I was going to die someday. And then for some reason, my 41st birthday, that hit hard. And just every once in a while, this huge feeling of anxiety, of fear of what happens after I am dead. And then that feeling of trying to imagine not being here and the impossibility of that and the bigness of that infinity will exist and then there's no aspect of myself. And that anxiety was just hitting hard, and just all these anxieties and just allowing me to feel that anxiety and allowing me to feel lonely. And noticing that there is a part of me that feels very lonely. And feeling that sadness. And some days I could feel the tears just going down and that was when I really recognized my uncle and how that aspect, but just that loneliness feeling. That, just allowing me to feel that loneliness that I do have some loneliness, allowing me to feel that pain. Because pain is not something that stops you. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be something that stops me either. It's a signal that something is happening. It's a signal that you need to work on it. It's a signal that you have a fear. And so 2019 was a process of allowing myself to feel bad and secure at the same time, and recognize the fact that I have some issues that I need to still work on. Here I am, Joyous Expansion, champion of authentic joy, catalyst of transformation of the Church of Awesome. Well, what's stopping me from taking all those to the next level? And last year, I truly thought about my anxieties. And so 2020, my hope is to really push things forward and being able to embrace the pain of those anxieties, of those fears, of that loneliness, of that sadness, of missing the people that are gone from my life that I truly care about, and still move forward in love, move forward in light, move forward in awesome. To be loved, to be joy, to be awesome, to truly epitomize what it means when I say that, because that is my mantra to myself. Be love, be joy, be awesome. Be a person of love. Treat people with kindness. Seek first to understand it, not to be understood. truly love someone for who they are, and if they don't fit what I want in my life, love myself enough to let them go, if that has to be the case, which it generally doesn't. I'm very laid back, and I don't really surround myself with abusive people, but be joy and truly enjoy this life. I mean, if there is no afterlife, there's nothing I could do for it now unless I can upload my consciousness into a computer, and since I don't think I can do that yet, why worry about that and just be joy and just love my life, and then be awesome and really work on stepping up and work on building myself up and the people around me, and try my best in my own way to make this world a better place, not for myself, not just for myself, because I am important enough to make this world a better place, but for everyone else as well, because the rising tide raises all ships. And so being that rising tide and working on that and getting to the point where I figure out exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it. And right now that is looking like this podcast. That's looking like the Church of Awesome. And truly moving forward and feeling the fear, feeling the anxiety, feeling the overwhelm, feeling the sadness, feeling the loneliness, feeling the pain, and embracing that, because life is pain, princess. And anyone who tells you different is trying to sell you something. Which you can get my book, Joyous Expansion, Unleashing Your Passions to Lead an Inspired Life. Speaking of somebody who has worked on themselves, I have an interview today with a Rachel Smets. Let's talk about her. Rachel Smets is a breakthrough coach, TEDx speaker, author, YouTuber, online course creator, and culture trainer. Rachel helps ambitious professionals change from feeling stuck in their 9-to-5 career to their desired life of fulfillment and freedom. Finally, do what you want and not expected. Learn the 3 C's, clarity, confidence, and create your next step and live a meaningful life of your desire. Rachel travels and lives around the world. She has learned to turn every challenge into a new opportunity. And now, here is my interview with Rachel Smets. Hello, Rachel, and welcome to my podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me, Brett.
Tell the listeners where you're from.
Where I'm originally from is Belgium. That's where I was born, but I haven't lived there for 17 years. I'm living all around the world.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. How did you get started on your all the world living situation?
It started about 17 years ago, I would say. I really, really wanted to experience living in another country, whereas, don't get me wrong, I come from a family who never moves, who never travels, so it's like, oh, why me? But I have this travel bug, and I just, not so much travel as in constantly travel, but really live and work in another country and really, be with the locals there. So, I've been doing that for over 12 different countries now, and I'm still not ready to return. I just get so much energy from being in new countries and meeting new people and overcoming challenges and overcoming fears and just breaking out of my comfort zone all the time and pushing myself out of my comfort zone, and just it made me grow a lot as a human being. I keep doing it. I just keep doing it.
That's so exciting. Were you always a person who would work on breaking out of their comfort zone?
Not at all. Not at all. I was shy, super shy, introverted, the person who never spoke up, who was always quiet, the child in the back of the classroom. I mean, always having perfect grades, but not wanting any attention on me at all. Yeah, now I'm an international speaker like you, and just, I learned a lot. Yeah, I really had to push myself to it. I'm happy that now I can help people, tell them, look, it is possible, because I've been there, I was really shy. It can really change, and everybody can learn it, and I'm so convinced about that.
Back in the days when you were shy, what did you feel like your shyness was causing you to miss out on?
I would say the fear, where do I start? Being a big people pleaser, wanting everyone to like me, and being afraid of what would others say, what would others think of me, what if I sound dumb and stupid, just afraid of what others would think of me. I think that was the biggest thing.
Was there a cause of that, or was it just the way you were?
Maybe. Well, I've never really questioned that, but now that you ask me, it's a great question. I think, whenever we have these things going on and we analyze it, it always goes back to childhood. I'm rarely something else. I don't have big traumas in my life. It definitely goes back into my childhood, and I do have to admit that I was raised in a very critical family. everything would be criticized and everything would be negatively criticized, it was always, even if I had really good grades, it was always like, yes, but this, and yes, but that, or somebody's doing something good, but there's always a negative to it. There was always a negative tone and a negative, I think that has a lot to do with it. And well, actually, I'm pretty sure that has a lot of it to do with it. So that I was afraid of what people would criticize me about, something like that. I'm sure that's related. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Being the critical nature of that, and then wanting to please the people around you, I can see how that would just create a situation where you're shy and you were holding yourself back.
Yeah, totally. No, it's a great question because I never thought of it, but it's definitely related. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And one thing I did enjoy that you just mentioned is the fact that it wasn't a big trauma. It was more of a little bit of just negative feedback, because a lot of people think, you need a big trauma to go forward in life, but everybody's pain is valid.
I mean, it also proves that, like you said, a lot of people, when you sometimes hear people's stories, there is, like you mentioned, like a big trauma or something terrible that happened or hit rock bottom or all of these. And for me, I never had that. But that doesn't mean that if you have a childhood with loving parents like I have, still the negativity of my family and my grandparents affected me as an adult. Yeah, I'm happy you're saying that. It's not because I don't have a trauma that it doesn't. Why am I such a people pleaser? Because of that. Why was I a perfectionist for so many years? Causing a burnout. Because I needed to be perfect because I was so afraid of the critics because of my childhood. So yeah, totally.
What was the moment or it's not just the moment, but series of moments? What made you decide to go out into the world?
I have one thought that drives me over and over and over till today and after today, and that is I don't want to grow old thinking, what if I had done it? That is the one thing that I tell people over and over, and writing my books and telling my speeches. When you are 90 years old and you're ending your life, or you're nearing the end of your life, and you look back on your life, what life are you looking back upon? Is it going to be, oh, I'm so happy I pleased all the other people, or I've actually done and tried doing what I wanted to do? And it's a choice. It's a constant choice. In life, I truly believe you always have choices. Even if people tell you, no, I can't, because of this, because of that. No, you have a choice. You choose for yourself in your own life and your own happiness, or you choose to please others and listen to others' opinion. And it's a choice. And I'm not saying this in a selfish way. I just say this because I had to learn myself over and over again and teach myself self-care and self-love, and that's part of that.
A little curiosity of mine. What is your favorite country you lived in?
I think, well, I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm still traveling, of course, and I've been to many amazing countries, but really to live for a longer term, I would say Spain. I've lived there for 2 years, and I love the sun. I love the climate. I love the people who are open outside, I would say, because every time I go back to Spain on a shorter time now, and then it's like, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to leave, I want to stay. So I think that would be Spain.
How has traveling and lived in different areas enriched your life?
Oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, so much in many ways, many, many ways. I would say number one would be my self-confidence, which is why I wrote a book about that. It's definitely increased my self-confidence because, like I mentioned, I used to be really shy and really low self-esteem, self-confidence. I was, I didn't feel good in myself at all. Because I pushed myself to go to another country on my own as a woman solo, so many challenges to overcome. It's living abroad and moving to another country is not like pack your bags and go on holiday. It's completely different. It's having to register, it's having to meet new people, it's being away from family and friends, it's having cultural shock, it's having these 4 phases of culture adaptation that you have to go through, that everyone goes through. And it's just getting familiar with the new everything, the new people, the new surroundings, the new food, the new language many times, getting over so many challenges. And even if I keep saying challenges, it is so worth it. So worth it because I have to say I gained self-confidence unconsciously. You don't do it in a conscious way. It's just, you overcome a fear and you step over that and you overcome another challenge and you don't realize it, but you grow and you grow and you grow, immensely. It enriched my life. And so confidence is one thing. It enriched my relationships. I have contacts and relationships and friendships all around the world. And that is just so heartwarming. And of course, knowledge, experience, flexibility in adapting to new environments, to new people. It enriched my language skills. I speak many languages now, and my cultural experience. I'm also a cultural diversity trainer because of my experience, cultures are different, so different. Even in Europe, every country is so different to the cultures. I mean, so the list is long, Brett.
All right, this is going to be a selfish question on my end. I see that you lived in the United States. What was your biggest culture shock in the great USA?
Even more than that, I had a relationship with an American, so I was like totally into that culture for a few years. I think I noticed that, it's almost like the States is, the land of the dreams and the place where everybody, dreams of being and living, achieving things, and everything is big, the dream big, do big, try, hardworking as well, working long hours, many days, and not so many holidays, but also but maybe that's because I know a lot of Americans who are also living in other countries outside of America. They would also very often look for American foods, American things, American churches, American societies, American communities outside of the US. And that's where I'm like, no, if I go to another country, I want to meet locals. I want to do local things. I want to go to local places. I'm not looking for Belgian places. If so many people ask me when I'm abroad, oh, are there any Belgians here? I'm like, I don't care. If I meet Belgians, I'll go back to Belgium. I don't go abroad to meet Belgians. I go abroad to meet locals. And I feel that Americans very often, they look for familiarity of American things. That's my impression. But yeah, I mean, everything big, everything, things can cost money. Spending money is okay. Credit cards, it's like, oh my gosh, it's never like that in Europe. If you can't spend it, then you don't spend it, kind of, But in America, it's like, yeah, sure, credit cards, take credit, whatever. It's all okay. Yeah, so.
That makes a lot of sense. We have that even going from state to state, there are local cuisines, but people still eat the McDonald's and the Burger Kings when they travel.
Mm. Everything's different. I never say it's better or worse. Everything is different. Every culture is different, and that's I find it exciting to experience.
So, what made you want to get into helping people, being a life coach, and helping people gain clarity?
Because of my own experience, and because I noticed how starts with having good conversations with friends or family or people that you know are close to you, and helping them through feeling very stuck or in doubt or low confidence, and I'm helping them with them. And then you start realizing like, I'm actually quite good at doing this, when people ask me for this. And so the more and more I was asked to kind of do it, it started like, hey, I can do something with this. And also I studied psychology, and it's something that constantly interests me. And also I think because I did several years, I was working in the corporate world, and I had read on the outside, I was having this perfect life, a big salary, a nice title, a nice status, climbing the corporate ladder, good money, financial security, all of that. And on the outside, oh, the perfect life, right? And happy Rachel. But inside, Rachel was so unhappy and stressed and just burning out. But then that's the stuckness where I love helping people with. It's that moment. I was so stuck because it's okay, here's my successful career, and I'm actually not happy, and I want to feel more fulfilled in life, and I want to travel more, and I want to have my online business. But how do I get there? It was like, I know I want it different, but I don't know how to get there. And this here is safe. The career, the corporate, it's safe. It's financially good. So breaking through that is so scary. And I did it, and I know exactly how I did it, and it's exactly how I help people who are now in a successful career, but feeling like, no, this is not fulfilling me. This is not meaningful to me. I want to do something different. But when you then look, oh my gosh, I'll never, or for me, freedom is to travel and work location independent and have everything I do is online. Okay. So I have online courses, online clients, online, I do everything online, and it's something I created. And that's the message I want to give to people. It's like it's something I created and you can create, and it doesn't go overnight. It really doesn't. But the fear, breaking to that fear and taking every small step towards that goal, and then finally after a few years, I can now say like, okay, now I can travel. I can. This year I was 3 months in Canada. I was 2 months in New Zealand. I'm going 2 months to Australia. I just came back last night from Romania. I mean, I created this lifestyle because that's really what I wanted. Was it easy? No, but I kept going and going and going. And it's exactly how I help people. It's like, if you're stuck, you can get out of there, but it's overcoming that fear. And it's possible. It's absolutely possible. And so I can talk about it, but I did it and I'm helping clients to succeed in that as well. So I know it's possible. Otherwise I would not be so convincing.
When you first got started, what were some of your biggest struggles?
I have no patience, and online business takes time. Even though everybody tells me like, oh, you need time and it takes time, like, I don't want time. I want it to work yesterday, and I want to have clients, yesterday, and it just doesn't work like that. And so the challenges are definitely that you have to be consistent, consistently posting, showing up, helping people, answering questions, putting out content. For me, YouTube is my thing. So I just, putting out consistent 2 videos a week. It's a lot of work without any financial return. It's not like you go to a job and at the end of the month you have your salary. No, it's like you do a lot of things and you don't see the money right away. But continuing in consistency and believing and trusting that it will, result in a success. I think that's the hardest thing, the first 2 years, it's like, working. It's like, no, I don't see any results. And then finally, if you continue, then clients start coming and you start getting results and you start seeing more followers and everything starts. But it's also, it's the life of an entrepreneur, it's just, continuously going. And if you love what you do, then that's needed, because if you don't love what you do, then it's exhausting.
You said that in your past that you were shy and you didn't want to be center of attention, but now you do YouTubes. How is it like doing those first videos?
Yeah, well, I think standing on the stage as a speaker was even more challenging, from being shy, and even doing 2 TEDx talks was like, oh my gosh, I'm being filmed like with 3 professional cameras and a big audience. It was like, oh my gosh. It's definitely hard to believe when I think about it myself, and maybe hard to believe for your audience listening, but seriously, pushing through that fear is a constant thing. And I tell people, like, fear can be seen as something negative, but fear can also be seen as something positive. But we tend to see it as something negative. But if you see fear as something like, oh my gosh, it's exciting, it's making me grow. The only way forward and the only way you can grow is to shake hands with your fear. There's no other way. If you sit down on your couch and you don't do anything, then nothing will happen and you will not grow and you will not gain confidence and you will not overcome any fear, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. But if you shake hands with your fear and you confront it and you little bits, again, everything in life and everything I achieve is little steps. It's little steps. I practiced in front of, 2 people, and then because I coach people too now who want to speak. It's like, then you do it in front of your parents or your brother or your siblings, and then in front of a little group. And then even at the gym, I was like, hey guys, can you just sit and have some coffee? And I'm just going to do a speech and practice, Yeah, and then you go from there. And then in the beginning, it's scary, and then you get better at it. It's just practice. And then with the YouTube, it's the same thing. It's like, put on the camera and just, well, it's something I enjoy doing, actually. And I think it's even, it's more fun than standing in front of, not more fun, it's different than standing in front of a live audience. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You're a speaker too, right, Brett?
One thing I really enjoyed what you said is talk about having a handshake with fear. I believe a lot of people, including myself, when I first got started, had this idea that I would get rid of fear, but courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing it even in spite of or with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely not the absence, because the fear keeps coming. Every time I want to grow further and I want to do something new, every time you grow, I want to grow the rest of my life. I want to learn the rest of my life. And so that means overcoming fears over and over and over. And that means shaking hands and make friends with my fear over and over and over, because otherwise I will not grow and you will stay stuck. And it's as simple as that. And we always want more. And in the beginning it was, okay, like I said, stand in front of a few people and then in front of an audience. And then I wanted to do YouTube. And so then came the fear of the camera. And then, what will people say? How will I look in front of the camera? And then every time I go, like now, I book my flight to Australia, don't know anything, don't know anyone. Of course, it's another fear, but it's every time, yeah, and life begins outside of your comfort zone. So and you know what, Brad, I need to add something. In my book, I interviewed 15 successful people. And when I say successful, success is different for everyone. Okay. Success could be a mother of 3 children. It could be a public speaker. It could be a best-selling author. It could be, it doesn't, for me, success does not mean, and I do not even want 6 figures, whatever they always say. It's not about the money. It's what you want to define success with. But what I mean is, all of the people I interviewed that really achieved successful things in life, they all had to learn and overcome fears. They all constantly increase the skill of self-confidence. And self-confidence is a skill. It's like, I say, it's like a muscle. When you go to the gym, you go to the gym, Brett, one time, come out of the gym the first time and look completely toned and muscled? No. You have to go back and back and back. And it's the same thing with confidence. You have to build that muscle. You have to build that skill. And all of those TV presenters, actors, seriously, I can, name any of them. They all had to learn to overcome fears and still and confront, go out of their comfort zone and build that confidence, because nobody's born with 100%. Hey, here I am. I'm confident.
In your travels, what has been your favorite success story of helping somebody get out their comfort zone?
Oh, my favorite success story. That's an interesting question. Everybody's unique, everybody in their own way. I mean, if I help somebody break through and start their own business and leave their career, or another one who used to be very successful, then took a break, then became afraid of starting something new again and did it, or somebody who never stood on a stage speaking and just had best audience and applause and delivered a great speech. I even had a person writing a book and, never thought she would hold the book in her hands, and she did. Oh my gosh, I do not have a favorite. I mean, every story and every person is so unique, and I love every one of them. I really do. I really do.
That's awesome. So how exactly do you work with people?
All my clients are all around the world, so everything is online. Yeah, everyone's path is different, so I kind of adjust a little bit some of them need some short-term boost, and some of them are with me longer. And yeah, some of them say like, look, I need to achieve this in the coming 6 months. Okay, let's do this, and let's get it done. Some of them have a really clear goal and know exactly what they want. And some of them are like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I want to do in life. And then we work on that, and I'm kind of flexible, I guess.
What do you enjoy best about being a life coach?
I love seeing people just feel good about themselves, like really discover, oh my God, I have something to offer. When they learn from themselves, when they look at me like smiling, oh my God, I did this for the first time and it went well. Or just have this client and he was like so insecure about a job interview. Come on, this and this. And we kind of went through that, and he came out and I'm like, oh my God, I was not so stressed and I didn't choke and it was amazing. And, every time I get this smile and these sparkles of energy in their eyes, it always starts with people who are completely stuck and unhappy, and you just see that their energy is drained and they're exhausted. And then when after a conversation, you see like, oh my God, there is a purpose and I have a goal and I can do this, and they feel so good about themselves. Oh, that is just, when I think about it, I get goosebumps. I love seeing people like, just feel good about themselves, and knowing that they're unique and they can do something and they believe in that. Oh, that's awesome.
I can totally feel your excitement on this end.
Yeah. I'm sure you have that too, Brett.
Oh, definitely. I always love it when they go, oh, that's a good question. And then they go deeper, and that's super fun. So we're coming to the end of our time together, and one thing I like to ask my guests is to give a 1 minute of motivation. You can imagine this as if you have a time machine and you travel back to your 8-year-old self, but you only have a minute to give everything your 8-year-old self to live the best life. Or you can think of it as cramming your entire life purpose into a minute.
Ah! Wow, that's amazing. I did not prepare for this, but I love that. I love it. Okay, am I on it? Okay, I'm going to repeat this at the beginning and at the end, and that's something I repeat a lot. It's your thoughts create your reality. So I'm going to say it again. Your thoughts create your reality. And what I mean by that is that everything you put in your mind, you can achieve. Everything starts with a thought. And if you doubt yourself and you say something, I can't do that, and I'm not good enough, and what will others say? Those are stories that you put in your head and in your mind, and then nothing will happen. But if you turn it around and you say, yes, I can do this, and I have a goal, and I have a purpose, and I'm going to achieve what your goal is or what your dream is, and I have to offer something in life, and I want to have a meaningful life, then you can achieve it. It doesn't matter which area, whatever, but you can achieve the things. And everything starts with a thought. The table, the chair you're sitting at, everything starts with a thought before it was created. So if you think, no, but it's impossible, it's only impossible if you think it's impossible. So start thinking things are possible, because everything starts impossible, and then a thought comes, and then it creates it, and it becomes possible. So I'm going to repeat, and I don't know how many seconds I have left, but your thoughts create your reality, and that's the truth. Done.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I really enjoyed your story on how you were a shy person and that traveling abroad has helped you expand your confidence and your self-worth and your ability to continually to push people out of their comfort zone, because that is where life has really has just shines. So thank you so much for your contribution to my podcast, and thank you so much for your contribution to this world.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm going to give you some links and some free trainings and resources, so you can put it below your podcast and people can connect. And also just watch my YouTube, Rachel Smets, SMETS. People can find me there and get a lot of inspirational videos out there. And if anybody has any questions, just reach out to me and I'm happy.
Thank you so much. May your day be special.
You too. Thank you.
And there you have it, folks. That was my interview with Rachel Smets. What a fantastic interview. I have never been the one to have the travel bug. However, growth is one of my most important qualities in my life. And listening to Rachel talk, it was inspiring to me to think on how much I can grow from traveling. I have heard from so many people about the amazing growth of traveling, going to somewhere, meeting different cultures, which is very impressive. One of the things that us Americans do not do enough of is get out of our country. Number one, we live, United States is pretty freaking big. And we do have different kind of cultures within the United States, but it's not really the same. Things are just kind of different. It's not as different as going to even Australia or Belgium even, I don't know. Then again, I don't know. But every time I see a friend traveling and them hearing them talk about it, they always talk about the amazing growth potential of travel. The only other country I have been to is Canada. And to be honest, it's not that much different other than the fact that people are generally more polite and they put gravy on their fries, which did shock me as a kid. Gravy on their fries? What the heck? That's crazy. Who puts gravy on potatoes? No, it made sense once I thought about it, and let me tell you, it's delicious. And poutine, which is a Canadian dish, probably from French, I don't know, from France, of putting gravy and cheese curds on fries, it is freaking delicious. Yeah, that's the foreign cuisine that I've tasted in another country. But, being an American, I do get to sample a lot of different foods from different countries, especially being in Pacific Northwest. We have a lot of Chinese people here and Japanese people, as well as Indian people. Indian, I mean people from India. And a lot of them do open restaurants or serve, open restaurants to serve the local population, which is pretty sizable. And so I do get to sample different cuisines. But yeah, it's always fun to me to listen to people talk about cultures. Actually, one of my favorite things to do is have a person from a different country do their impression of an American, and generally speaking, they always mention hamburgers. So one thing I know is in other countries, one thing we are synonymous with in the United States is hamburgers. So if you want to get out of your comfort zone, and Rachel has shown that she has done that by traveling across the world and helping other people. So if you want to check her out, you can go to rachelsmets.com, RACHELSMETS.com. She has a free video training, 7 steps to get you unstuck and create the life you desire. You can also check her out YouTube, Rachel Smets, Instagram, Rachel Smets. She has a Facebook group, which I'll put in the show notes, and LinkedIn at Rachel Smets. So she is easy to find. That is some good SEO there, Rachel. And there you have it, folks. That is episode 54 of the Joyous Expansion Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to me. I have been your host, Brett Dupree. If you want to email me for any reason, you can email me at BRE2Ts, DUPR2Es at joyousexpansion.com. as well as you can see me at Joyous Expansion. I'm at Twitter at Joyous Expansion, Instagram at Joyous Expansion, and Facebook at Increase Your Joy, which is bad SEO. I don't suggest you do it that way. I'm also check me out at thechurchofawesome.com, where I'm starting a new group about creating the life of your desire, where you and your higher self is your God, or at least someone to treat as God-like as you try to make your life better through questions and stuff. We're starting prizes this month, so I'm excited about that and getting that off the ground and that dream going forward, because that's what life is all about, going forward. If you like this, please like, subscribe, leave a review, stars, anything you can do can help this program get to more people. I believe it's helpful, and it's just another way to help people become better. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we want? Once again, I'm Dupree, champion of authentic joy, catalyst of transformation of the Church of Awesome, and Joyous Expansion Life Coach, wishing you once again to be love, to be joy, to be awesome. Now play my jingle.
JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com. Come and say hello to Brad Dupree. He is an inspirational life coach, good for you and good for me. He turned my life from grey to blue, I'm sure he'll do the same for you. Get in touch and you'll see your life will change dramatically. JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com.